go. Okay. Attention everyone, we are going to start the Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board meeting. It is Thursday, April 28th, 2020. We are commencing the meeting at 6:34 p.m. Before we begin, if you wish to speak on any item on this agenda, please complete a public comment card provided to the Planning and Zoning staff.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
If you would, please speak directly into the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. I'm repeating. If you wish to speak on any item on this agenda, please complete a public comment card and provide it to the Planning and Zoning staff. Cards must be submitted prior to board discussion of an item. Thank you. And at this moment, we are going to have a moment of silence and pledge allegiance led by myself, Chair Evelyn Harris Clark. A moment of silence, please. Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone stand, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board Member Brown, could you do me a favor? Could you close that door, please? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call of attendance, please?
Margaret Shepard. Here. Anthony Brown.
Present.
James Gallen. Here. Frank Fernandez.
Here.
Renee Burgess.
Here.
William Wiley.
Present.
Evelyn Harris Clark.
Present.
Moeti Nubi. Russell Barnes.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so very much. And before I forget, I'd like to welcome our viewing audience, our residents of Riviera Beach, and our guests that are present here with us this evening. Greetings and welcome to everyone. On to item number 3, acknowledgement of board member absences. Notification, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
on Monday, April 25th, staff received the formal resignation of board member Newby, so he will be removed from the roster.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sermons. Noted. Item number 4.
One more item.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair. That would move board member Russell Barnes to first alternate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, additions to the agenda. Do we have any?
None, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any deletions to the agenda?
None, Madam Chair.
Okay, great, thank you. And before we go on to item number 5, disclosures by any board members. Okay, seeing none, adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda and a second?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need to have a roll call. I apologize.
Margaret
Voting?
Shepard.
Yes.
Anthony Brown.
Yes.
James Gallen. Yes. Renee Burgess.
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
Frank Fernandez.
Yes.
Russell Barnes.
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark.
Yes,
Unanimous vote.
thank you. Okay. approval of the minutes from the last meeting. May I have a motion to accept the approval of the minutes from the last meeting?
Madam Chair, we don't have the minutes.
Okay.
They weren't admitted.
Okay. Item number 7, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Mr. Sermons?
None, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're on to new business, item number 8.
Yes, Madam Chair. For the first item A, under new business, we have reorganization of the board. As you are aware, the chairship lasts for 1 year. So as we did last year at this time, we would add to the agenda the reorganization of the board for the election of the chairperson and vice chair.
Sure. Mr. Sermons, can you come forward here because I could barely hear you? If I'm correct, I think I heard that I get a chance to stay in the role for life. Is that what you said?
With a bonus.
With a bonus?
Not quite, Madam Chair.
Okay.
As you are aware, the chairship lasts for 1 year.
Yes.
So at this time of the year, we add to the agenda the election of chair and vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, thank you. All right, so how do we want to proceed in terms of putting in nominations? I'm going to let you drive the process.
If that is the pleasure of the board, I will do that. Sorry. So at this time, we will open the floor for nominations from board members for the chair position.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Frank Fernandez for the chair.
Copy that. I have Mr. Frank Fernandez, and I believe that requires a second to move forward.
Second.
If I may, my apologies. Mr. Fernandez, Mr. Barnes, I apologize. Even though you've been moved up to the first alternate, because we have a full quorum, you would not have voting rights for tonight. So I do apologize for calling you with the roll.
Okay,
So is there a second for the nomination
Yes.
of? Yes. Okay.
So we're just going to go straight on down the line, Mr. Sermons, of nominees. So next is Board Member Brown.
To have the opportunity to make an additional nomination?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Did you have a nomination, Mr. Brown?
No, Madam Chair.
And if that answer was no, I believe we can move to the next person.
Okay, Mr. Gatlin.
I would like to nominate William Wally as vice chair.
We're still on just chair right now. We didn't move to vice chair yet. We're still on chair, Mr. Gatlin.
Frank is fine with me.
Okay. Ms. Burgess?
Frank.
Mr. Fernandez?
Fernandez.
And since he has already had a nomination and a second, I wouldn't add anything to my list now. So, Madam Chair, do you have a nomination?
Yes, Evelyn Harris Clark.
Okay.
Is there a second? Okay. Board Member Wiley?
Mr. Fernandez.
Fernandez? All right, he has already been nominated. And Madam Clerk, would...
I'll call the roll.
Yeah. Okay, yes, we are ready for...
Well, Mr. Fernandez, you get to vote.
Yes, myself, Frank Fernandez.
Okay.
Okay.
And so roll call, Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
James Gannon,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark,
No.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
unanimous vote. I'm sorry, that vote passed with Evelyn Harris Clark dissenting. My apologies.
All right, and now I will open up nominations for Vice Chair.
Okay, and we are going to start to my far left, so let's start with Mr. Fernandez.
I nominate William Wiley.
Is there a second? All right.
Yes.
Okay, we have a first and second. I'd like to do the roll call. We do have a first and second, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
If I may, Margaret Shepherd?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, do we give everybody else a chance to put in the nomination? We were going down the road.
I stand corrected. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we left off with Mr. Wiley. So who is your nomination?
I'll take myself.
Okay, all right. Nomination, I'm going to put my hat in the ring, Evelyn Harris Clark.
Okay. Ms. Burgess?
William Wiley?
Mr. Gannon?
William Wiley.
Mr. Brown?
William Wiley.
Ms. Shepherd?
William Wiley.
Okay.
Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Yes. Margaret Shepherd?
Yes.
Anthony Brown?
Yes.
James Gannon?
Yes.
Renee Burgess?
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark?
I do have to vote for myself. No.
William Wiley?
Yes.
Frank Fernandez?
Yes.
That vote passed 6 with Evelyn Harris Clark dissenting.
Okay, terrific. Now, how do we proceed now for the remainder of the meeting?
So if necessary, we can rearrange seats, and then we can, the new chair, if you prefer to stay where you are, we can continue forth with the agenda.
I'm fine where we're at, unless anybody else wants to change seats, but I'm fine.
Well, this one is kind of cool. You can have it. It's not that
Nah, I'm perfect.
Okay.
Okay, then, Mr. Chair, that would put us at item B under item 8 for new
There is
business.
no gavel.
Item B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving plat application PA 220003 from Easton Group Companies Incorporated to combine 3 parcels identified by parcel control numbers 56, 43, 42, 32, 43, 001-000, 56, 43, 42, 32, 43-003-000, and 56, 43, 42, 32, 43, 004, 0000, and totaling 8.97 acres as combined to create one development tract, A1, 8.94 acres, and one additional RW tract, B1, 0.03 acres, providing for conditions of approval and providing for an effective date.
All right, and for the record, I am Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services for the City of Riviera Beach. We have a presentation prepared for you, in just a moment, and if it pleases the board, I will present one combined presentation for both item B and C, as they are associated with the same development project. Just a moment.
Mr. Sermons, you want to read item C into the record as well, or is?
No, if possible, could we ask for a 5-minute recess so we can address the technical difficulties?
Okay, 5-minute recess it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is that Walter? Okay, so we're starting out. We give it a second. Just preparing. All right, there we go.
Make sure his clicker works.
Okay, so now I know what that is. That's Stony Brook.
This computer is freezing. Let's see. No, it's not that. It's freezing. The moment he walks in, it's freezing. This is the second you walk out the door this happened. Yeah, it looks like we're working. All right, no problem. Stay on the phone. We might do it though. All right. Yeah, I will in a second.
Mr. Chair, I believe we are ready to go.
Okay, we are starting again at 6:56 p.m. Would you like me to read C into the record?
So for this item, the first one on the agenda is the plat. For voting purposes for this, it would be one vote for the plat and then a separate vote for C, which would include a vote that would include C and D, the site plan and special exception that are grouped together. So at this time, it is not necessary to read the next block.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we are ready to proceed. The project staff is before you to present this evening is called Riviera Beach LTL. There are 3 applications pending related to this project: plat, application 22-0003, site plan, application SP 21-18, and special exception, application number SE 21-02. These applications are all related permits, and for that reason, I will be presenting them together. The P&Z needs to make one motion for the plat application and one separate motion for the site plan and special exception for a combined application. And as you already read this header into the record, we can go to the next slide. And again, once we get to the vote for this item, we can read that header so it is clear what is being voted upon. So next slide. So for the plat, it is proposed a combination of 3 parcels identified by parcel control numbers 5643423243001000, parcel 5643423243003000, and finally parcel 5643423243004000, totaling 8.97 acres as combined to create one development tract, which would be A1 for 8.94 acres, and one additional right-of-way tract, B1, for 0.03 acres. Before you is the proposed plat for consideration. So for the site plan and special exception, what is proposed is the construction of a 34,500 square foot office warehouse facility with associated parking and landscaping, and dedicated and for future expansion of the right-of-way. The warehouse would be 31,500 square feet, and the office would be 3,000 square feet. Before you is the proposed site plan and special exception, again with the 31,500 square foot warehouse and a 3,000 square foot office use. Before you is the site plan proposed in color, depicting the proposed landscaping at the site and an aerial view of the adjacent developments. Before you are the elevations proposed for the structure. At the top is the east elevation. Then you can see the north elevation, which would be facing the roadway, the south, and then west at the bottom. We have gone through extensive review for the landscaping for this project to ensure what they are proposing meets the standards in the land development code of the city. The picture before you shows the tables of what's required for landscaping and what they have provided. To the right, you can see an excerpt of the landscape in a little more detail. Additionally, Palm Beach County has reviewed the potential traffic impacts of this development, and they have determined that it meets their standards and would not impair the roadway in a significant manner. For this project, we have called on the applicant to ensure that the public has every opportunity to provide input for this project. This particular parcel is unique to most industrial projects because it is immediately adjacent to a residential project. So we ensured that the applicant made efforts to include them in the process or give them opportunities for feedback. They provided evidence and documents that they did reach out to the community next door and give them the opportunity to review and provide feedback on this project. So staff analysis. The proposed use is permitted by special exception in the General Industrial District. The IG General Industrial District is intended to promote development of industrial and manufacturing uses, which would increase the tax base of the city and provide increased employment opportunities for the area residents. As far as comprehensive plan consistency, the proposed project is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and the future land use of industrial. The proposed development of this property is appropriate for an industrial area adjacent to a railroad spur line. There is an existing multifamily development immediately to the west of the property. The applicant has designed the site in consideration of the residential neighbors by increasing the existing wall height from 6 foot to 8 foot and providing dense landscape buffers not only between the project and the residences, but on the west side or the resident side of the 8-foot wall, so that the residents have the full benefit and enjoyment of the enhanced landscaping. The applicant team also rented a room from a neighboring meeting rented a room for a neighborhood meeting to gather feedback from abutters, but they reported that there were no attendees for the meeting. Level of service. Customary services such as water, sewer, roads, and garbage collection are available to the site. Landscaping. The site has extensive landscaping proposed throughout the periphery and an enhanced buffer along Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is the principal arterial overlay district, and on the western property line for the screening of the adjacent residential use. Parking and traffic. Parking for cars and truck is provided on the site with 42 parking spaces, 2 handicap spaces, and 1 loading space, in addition to parking for 49 trailers. The TPS letter, as well as the parking analysis, is included in the backup, and the project is expected to have an insignificant impact on the surrounding roadway network. The applicant is dedicating 0.03 acres of right-of-way for future widening of the road, and the project has been designed with that in mind. This project has been reviewed by staff from the fire department, the utility district, public works and engineering, planning and zoning, and the peer review consultant for the plat and building departments. Staff comments requiring responses have been addressed by the applicant, and the project is ready for consideration and action by the Planning and Zoning Board and City Council. Staff recommendation for the plat. Staff recommends approval of the plat application 22-0003 from Eastern Group Companies Incorporated to combine 3 parcels identified by the parcel control numbers that have been read into the record and totaling 8.97 acres as combined to create 1 development tract A1 for 8.94 acres and 1 additional right-of-way tract B1 for 0.03 acres, providing for conditions of approval and providing for an effective date. The staff recommendations for Site Plan 21-18 and Special Exception 21-02. Staff recommends approval of the site plan application and special exception application from Eastern Group Companies Incorporated to develop a 34,500 square foot office residential facility with associated parking and landscaping to dedicate land for future expansion of the right-of-way on a vacant 8.97 acre parcel located on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, immediately west of the railroad tracks, formerly identified by the parcel control numbers that have already been read into the record, and having a future land use designation of industrial and a zoning designation of general industrial, providing for an effective date and subject to the following conditions. 1, construction must be initiated within 18 months of the effective date of this resolution. Demolition, site preparation, and/or land clearing shall not be considered construction. Building permit application and associated plans and documents shall be submitted in its entirety and shall not be accepted by city staff in a partial or incomplete manner. 2, City Council authorizes city staff to approve future amendments to this site plan administratively, so long as the site plan does not deviate greater than 5% from the originally approved plan. Condition number 3, this development must receive final certificate of occupancy from the city for all buildings and/or units approved within 5 years of the approval of the adopting resolution, or the resolution shall be considered null and void, requiring the applicant to resubmit. 4, a 2-year landscaping performance bond for 110% of the value of landscaping and irrigation shall be required before a certificate of occupancy is issued for this site. 5, all future advertising must state that the development is located in the city of Riviera Beach. Fees and penalties in accordance with City Code Section 31-554 will be levied against the property owner and/or business for violation of this condition. 6, once approved, this resolution shall supersede any previous site plan approvals associated with this property. 7, the concurrently processed resolution PA-22-0003 must be approved and recorded prior to the site plan approval becoming effective. And that concludes the staff presentation on this item. The applicant is present and prepared with their own presentation.
Mr. Sermons, I have 2 quick questions for you. You said that the residential complex that's being built adjacent to this location was notified and they had no objections?
Staff has not received any comments, negative or the other, related to this project, and the applicant did host a community meeting that they report no attendance at.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I will make way for the applicant after that.
Sir, when you take the podium, would you please announce who you are, your company you represent, and how you tie into this corporation and the plat before you?
I will certainly do that, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on your chair and vice chair. For the record, my name is George Gentile. I'm the president and senior partner of 2GHO Inc., Landscape Architects, Planners, Environmental Consultants, Inc. We're the planners for this project. I'm proud to say that I grew up here in Riviera Beach. I went through grade school and high school here, and I'm glad to be back here, as I do come back occasionally to make presentations on projects. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present. We're here tonight to present for the project that you saw that Mr. Sermons did a phenomenal job explaining. We have enjoyed working with the staff on this project. We have worked with them diligently to make sure that we made this an excellent project for the city of Riviera Beach, in creating jobs and financial benefits to the city of Riviera Beach, and also to be concerned about the residents that are there at the project that, when I was growing up here in Riviera Beach, was Stony Brook, and I actually worked on the maintenance crew there as a young boy growing up in this area. So I'm very familiar with the project, so we were very, very concerned as we were doing it. The owner is requesting, this is the plat end, and I'm not going to go through all of this because Mr. Sermons did a phenomenal job. This is a cleanup of the previous approval to ensure that we get this platted correctly. The tracks A, C, and D were on the previous plat document for a previous project that came before the city. We're creating one tract for the project site itself and one for the FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation's required dedication of right-of-way to Martin Luther King Boulevard so that they have proper right-of-way for that area. And you'll see that in the plan, and you saw it already, but I'm going to explain a little bit more on that. So you can just go through these, and I'll ask you. I do want to make a comment. There is a Florida Power and Light power line that goes along the western side of the project. That Florida Power and Light power line is in an easement that is not included inside this property and was not in the title commitment. So that we had some comment on it, and we wanted to make sure that you understood it. The good thing about that being outside the easement, it allows us to landscape the area that you'll see in a minute very heavily to protect the people in the neighboring adjacent residential project. So you can go ahead through this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop on the plat, and if we get the other site, I'm sorry, the next one. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. If that's okay, Mr. Chair, I don't think you need any further explanation unless you all have some questions you can ask me later on. I'd be glad to answer that.
We'll answer later. Just continue with your presentation,
Thank you.
please, sir.
Thank you. As indicated earlier, this is the application for site plan approval and special exception for the Riviera Beach LTL, which actually means less than truckload facility. This is a transport facility in these very difficult times that we've gone through and that we're still experiencing. The distribution chain here in this country has been very difficult. And we have had a lot of interest in providing transportation, less than truckload transportation for this area. And we have a lot of interest in this facility. This is a great location. It is on the Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is a strategic intermodal designated road right-of-way by the Florida Department of Transportation, specifically for the transport of goods and services to the Port of Palm Beach as well as to the western area of the community. We even had at one time, which I don't know what the status is at this point, a western port actually being proposed in the EAA area of Palm Beach County out west. If you can go to the next slide. So we are on 8.9 acres. It's 8.97 acres, but we will be dedicating 0.3 acres to the 0.03 acres to the FDOT. We have an office and warehouse building totaling 34,500 square feet. And as I indicated, it's to actually mobilize and transport goods to and from locations in and around the area. Next slide, thank you. The Easton Group is the major partner of this. I do want to indicate that they will be forming an additional LLC together with their other partners, which we will get with staff on. It will be called the SFGISF Riviera MLK LLC, which designates this facility here in the city of Riviera Beach. The Easton Group owns a number of companies and have been doing vertical real estate platforms, including brokerage, property management, property investments. They own and operate approximately 7 million square feet existing infrastructure product with an additional 1 million square feet of product under development. They're a substantial company. They've been doing some tremendous work in this area, in the South Florida area as well. Go to the next slide. Thank you. This is the site location. This gives you the general location of what's around it, with the exception of the residential project to the immediate west. In a small portion, it's surrounded totally by industrial. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. These are the designations of those properties all the way around the project site. Actually, to the west of the residential apartments, there is another transshipment facility, but there's also the Titan steel manufacturing facility, which is probably one of the most very active right now because of the construction going on in this area of South Florida. So anyway, next slide, please. The LTL facility will be used as a logistical transfer, as I said, and we are using a standard truck width, although they will have smaller trucks. The maximum is a 53-foot tractor trailer rig, and we designed the project to meet those specifications. Although the UPS truck, FedEx trucks that are smaller will also be a part of this, that type of trucks will be a part of this facility. So, next slide. This is our site plan. As you can see, we have one entrance with appropriate lanes coming into the site off of Martin Luther King Boulevard. It will come into a circular drive that will go through the facility, but there will be also access for the office building in the front. The T in the front is the office building portion, and the long linear is the warehouse building where the tractor trailers and other trucks will load and unload their facilities for change of locations. They'll be bringing goods here, putting them on other trucks to go elsewhere, and then coming back here with other things. We've provided the required parking. We have 42 spaces that's required. However, we've also included a number of truck parking areas, and we have landscaped that area in the back. I do want to bring your attention to the larger green area in the back. That is the landscape buffer that we had proposed against the residential project. Two reasons that we did that. Number one, we also have an 8-foot wall that we asked the city to allow us to do an 8-foot wall instead of 6 foot, and to landscape on the residential side of the wall. The reason we put in, instead of the 5-foot requirement, we actually did 28 feet in that area so that we could move the wall and the trees, the large amount of trees and landscape that we have, towards that wall, because the view corridor from a second-story apartment is better blocked the closer the screening is to the building. So this gave them a better view cutoff because those are 2-story apartments, and we wanted to make sure that they had the benefit of that, as well as the additional screening and buffering, which is also going to be noise attenuation in that area as well. That's something that you don't see much, but our clients were very pleased to work that out because of that. Everything else around it is industrial and railroad. So I can't. They're going to get a very good landscape buffer, but they're not getting what the residential's getting. So okay. Next slide. Thank you. The land use is industrial. The zoning's general industrial, and I went through this. We have 23% open space on the property, 42 parking spaces. Next slide. Thank you. I just went over this, but this is just a little bit clearer picture. We do have a large green landscape buffer in the front on Martin Luther King Boulevard. We have another line of landscaping for the office parking, and we have foundation planting around the entire 2-3 sides of the office building. We also, if you notice that the office building is narrow and the sides facing the west it's a small section of that office building, which is a 2-story element. That will not have windows, so there's no looking back towards the other way. The residents will have nobody looking towards them and from that building on the second floor, and we have a tremendous amount of landscaping going around it. Next slide, please. And then in the rear area, we have, of course, this tractor trailer staging area, a drainage area, and then we've, of course, continued the landscape buffer, which is all array around the entire project. So we're putting in a tremendous amount of landscape and irrigation into the perimeter of the project. Next slide, thank you. Very quickly, this is a east and west view of the building, so that you see these are the bay areas for the distribution vehicles to come in and the warehouse areas. If you go to the next slide. This is the office building component. So the north elevation facing Martin Luther King Boulevard is on the top. We have the architect here if you need any further explanation, but I think they've done a tremendous job making this blend into the architectural styles, more of a modern architectural area. And then this is the south elevation, which is towards the parking area in the back. That's the back end of the long building coming all the way back to the south side of the project, near towards the tractor trailer staging area and retention area. Next slide. Our engineers are here. They did what we call auto turn run to make sure everything was working on this, and we feel comfortable, and our engineers feel comfortable that the vehicles will be able to circulate, and of course in the parking lot will just be the workforce individuals bringing cars into that parking lot area in that location. Next slide. We are asking for a special exception for the use. The warehouse use is a special exception in this district. Right now, the subject site is vacant. I know that in the past, a number of uses had come into the city with this. One of them was a car crushing facility so that they were close to the port. That would have been, I think, a problematic use here, and I think Ms. Shepard, you were here when that was brought here. I remember it very well. So we think this is a much, much better use, less impactful and everything else. Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, as we said, is a strategic intermodal system roadway that the FDOT has established specifically for these types of uses, and that's why most of your uses along this roadway are industrial. Okay, next one. We've designed the buildings so they're very compatible to the area. We feel that they will make a great improvement to the area, particularly with the amount of landscaping that we're doing. It provides 8-foot masonry wall, as I indicated, which is over the 6-foot that typical is required, and I've talked about the landscape. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a sectional view of what the truck that you see there is a staging truck that'll be left in the truck wells, the driveway, and then the 28-foot buffer area. So we've pulled those trees all the way back so that they get a blocking of view from that specific area. And we have multiple levels of trees going in, including sable palms that have different elevations and canopy trees, as well as full landscaping on the bottom, so that they will have a park-like setting along that right-of-way, that goes down to the other industrial areas. We talked about the public outreach. We went to and rented the Dan Calloway Tate Recreation Center, which is right in the area. We sent notices out, and we actually provided for a nice event to have there. We had food and drinks, and we had a number of boards set up and everything, and unfortunately we had no one decided to answer the flyers and all the information we put out. There was nobody that had any issues with the project that we could see, and we haven't heard from anybody since then. So, next slide. Again, we think this promotes the development industrial. We meet all the comp plan provisions, all the zoning and land development regulations. We're actually exceeding most of the land development regulations. We're on an SIS highway, as we indicated. We meet. I think we've really tried, and your staff has been just tremendous working with us. We went through a number of comments and reiterations, and I think that we're here with a great project, great economic base, and a good job creator for Riviera Beach. Mr. Chair, I'm going to stop there, and I'll be glad to entertain questions. We have our traffic engineer, we have our architect here, I'm the landscape architect. Well, some of my staff is here as landscape architects too, and my planning team is here. So
good. Well, I'm going to have just 2 questions, and I'll pass it on to the other board members. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing the business and investment into our community. You mentioned bringing jobs in. What are you going to be doing regarding how to attract local Riviera Beach residents for jobs and local contractors for this great opportunity?
On the job basis, like most of our projects, they will actually provide for job opening sessions probably here at the site, because they'd like to get workers from the immediate general area to be able to work here. And so we will work that out into the program of hiring employees for the project site. This is not a set tenant as we speak. They have a number of very good companies that are requesting to lease this facility. The entity that's putting this in, the development team, will maintain ownership of it. And so they'll work with them on it. And but we fully understand, because I do a lot of work here in Riviera Beach, that we will have a employment day where we will try to encourage and get employees from the immediate area for Riviera Beach.
And local contractors?
On the contractor, are you going to be bidding this out? Yes, it will be bid out. So they'll make every effort to work with your city staff on qualified bidders to bid the project. I don't want to belittle the building, but it's a large, but I would say easy construction. It shouldn't be that difficult. And not only, so I think there's an opportunity for a lot of subs and a lot of local people to be. There's nothing here that we have to get major companies or engineering companies outside of the area to do specific items, such as Titan, where they have crane and mechanical equipment that has to run rebar all over the place and make sure it gets developed properly. So I think this would be a great project for local contractors.
Perfect. Now we'll proceed to our board members. Ms. Margaret Shepard, board member, would you like to add any questions?
No, I just want to thank Ms. Gentile for this project. I went over, I think about a week ago, and looked at the property site, and you're sharp to remember that they want to have that car crushing site.
Yeah.
And I think the rebellion came from Miss Mary Brown. I think she's the one that led the charge, and that disappeared. So I'm glad to see you here with such a good project, and just want to say welcome to the city of Riviera Beach. I have no questions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Board member Anthony Brown.
Mr. Chairman, I found a couple typographical errors on the plat. It does not affect the technical content of the plat. So I will just turn it over to staff at the end.
Staff has no issues with that. We will receive those comments and ensure the appropriate updates are made.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sherman.
What was that, Mr. Sherman? I didn't hear you.
Excuse me, I said staff has no issue with that. If the board member doesn't mind providing those typographical errors to us, we will ensure that the document is
Yes.
properly updated.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we have no problem with that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Board member James Gallen.
I have a few questions. I would like to know why you all did not contact any of the other homeowners that's in that area. To the north, there's some homes over there where they contacted.
Yeah, it was publicly noticed. It was on the website, publicly noticed, and as well as we know that we had talked to a few people over there.
Right, 'cause I live to the east of this.
To the east. Okay.
So I'm wondering how come, I think you should have went out further also as far as the notification. The problem that I have is that another warehouse. I live in this area too, so I'm to the point to where I'm warehoused out. And I've been in this city all my life, and I'm tired of looking at warehouses. And I pass there every day. I'm sick of looking at that little piece of property there that's sitting there doing nothing. But I have a problem with seeing another warehouse. I don't know how the rest of my
Mr. Chair, I don't know if you want me
colleagues
to
feel,
answer anything at this point or just wait till all the questions and.
We can wait till all the questions are asked, and then you can address that, please.
Okay.
Ms. Rena Burgess?
It's Renee.
Renee, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on what Mr. Gallen was saying. I feel the exact same way. It's like warehouse, and this is my community, and I know you stated that you grew up here, and we just do not, Riviera Beach is a food desert. We don't have access to affordable, nutritious fruit stands, these type of things in our city. We don't have nice restaurants that we can go to. And every time we come here, it's another proposal for a warehouse. I understand that the location may be good because it's, easy access to the port, but it's not fulfilling for our residents. So that was my comment. I was thinking the exact same thing. You also mentioned about a great job base for Riviera Beach, and also that this warehouse the bays are going to be leased out. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't.
The bays will be leased out at the warehouse. Is that correct?
The project itself will have probably a single user that will lease the facility. It will be somebody like they don't have anybody that they're waiting to make sure it gets approved. They have a lot of interest, but it'll be something similar to like the Old Dominion. It will be like the FedEx companies, the UPS trucks, that type of thing. It'll be a company similar to that. And this is not really a long-term storage facility. This is a transfer area. It's more of a logistics facility, which is different than just warehousing stuff, okay? This materials in here will be transported in and out. This is kind of like the hub to take it from one transportation system to another and to go to different routes. I was going to answer that after, and I apologize.
Okay. So can you kind of give me like a rundown of what type of jobs will actually be available at this type of facility?
There will be, I would anticipate there will definitely be truck drivers and vehicle drivers. There will be office personnel, accounting to secretarial to any of those things in the office facility. And then there will be people that will be doing, working in the distribution portion of it, moving materials back and forth, loading and unloading trucks, driving forklifts, many of things. I have a son that does that as well up in the Jupiter area, works for a feed company, and his job is he works the warehouse and actually moves stuff with forklift and does loading of and unloading of trucks, materials coming in and materials going out. One of the biggest problems we have here right now in this country is the distribution line chain. And this is an industrial site, and I think that this is a really appropriate use, specifically in this location with the rail line and its location to the port, and it's all industrial around it with the exception of the property to the west. So I'll be glad to answer that more. I have some other information that I'd provide you, so, okay.
Yeah, I think it could also be a great spot for a grocery store, but that's just me.
Okay.
The other comment, if the space will be leased out, how can you guarantee that the other companies that come in will hire locally?
We will make a commitment that they'll open the jobs up to local people. I mean, we've done that on a lot of projects here. They will work with your city staff. They'll work with Career Source here, and they will make sure that they have job events at the site to make sure, and they'll ask their tenant to do the same thing.
Because I find that when companies come before us and they say that, it sounds really good, but you don't see it come to fruition, because right next door there's a development where your company could go into and try to hire right from that development.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm just putting that out there for the record. You come, it sounds good that you're going to hire locally, but then we don't get to see that after the fact, and it's built and it's up there for a year or two, because then the qualifications, they say the residents aren't qualified. So again, the warehouse thing, I understand your position. You're about making the money. Again, you did state you grew up here, but yeah, it's like a prime location. Distribution, railroad, everything could be a nice supermarket. But those are my
I don't
comments
think I can
now.
do a supermarket there.
Ms. Evelyn Harris Clark?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I have several questions. I understand that this is LTL. Are you housing and moving hazmat perishables?
I don't think, no.
Strictly packages, pallets? Okay.
Mr. Gentile, you're affirmative, yes?
I'm sorry, yes. We are not, this is not a hazardous waste distribution. This is products and goods.
Sure, I understand. What I'm saying is that some warehouses, distribution center, they may bring in certain type of chemicals. I mean, it's packages. It may be packaged as hazmat and it's moving out, and it has to be stored in a hazmat sort of area until it's moved on a truck and it's moved to its final destination.
Yeah.
Same thing with perishables. It could be plants. It could be some sort of food. I don't know if it's something that has to be chilled or not.
No, this is not this is not a refrigerated facility. So it'll be really, it'll be almost, I would anticipate it would be similar to your Amazon distribution where they're transporting goods either from here to the western portions of Palm Beach County and in and around the general area
Sure,
as well.
I just want to be sure because the last distribution company that we voted on, they were going to move some hazardous materials as well, even though they said they were going to be like an Amazon sort of moving, general goods out.
Right.
They were going to accommodate, for example, hazardous material. Okay, to my colleague's point, and this is not to be disparaging, I'm just going to repeat what I hear out in other municipalities, that Riviera Beach is just simply a warehouse community, and they have not a good name for us. But, the thing is that if you're bringing good jobs, you're a good neighbor, we're getting a good tax base from you, et cetera, maybe it might be a fit. But there is a concern with our residents and people outside of the municipality that we're just a big warehouse city. Going back to the jobs, I think that's very important that you said you're going to have a single-use person, or company rather. And it could be that somewhere down the road, this single-use company isn't making their numbers, and they're going to have to rent these bays out. That's what they do down in Miami. As a matter of fact, I'm in the logistics business as well, and we rent our space out for import-exports too, for example. It's just another revenue generator. You cannot guarantee us that this is going to be a single-use occupant, can you?
Yeah. The objective is to have a single-use company, but
That's the
but you
objective,
certainly
but
wouldn't.
It could be open.
It could be open to multiple users if they needed to do that. I would anticipate also that there's a possibility you could have different companies that use the entity that has the entire lease of this facility to provide certain areas just for their people to pick up on one side and deliver out the other. So you could have other companies that work directly with the single user on this building. I don't think the city would want to restrict the users of the building as if it's successful and it makes a good tax base for the
It's
city.
not restricting. I want to go to the point of bringing in jobs. If you
Yes.
have tenants, they are not obligated, because they're not here to hear what you're hearing, to provide jobs for our residents and reach out to our various networks within our municipality to make those advertisements that the distribution has jobs, their offices may have opportunities.
I understand.
If it's easier with a single-use tenant, because you would be representing them and they would hear that, but if it down the road, there's no control and no guarantee, and we're right where we started from. We have a warehouse, and our people don't get any jobs. Caveating off of that too, I noticed, which is very commendable in your packet, that you're going to reach out to the West Palm Beach Black Chamber of Commerce. I want you to continue to do that. However, looking for general contractors within that body, that list, not one of those general contractors were from the area of Riviera Beach. So I would suggest that if you can give us some commitment that you're going to work with the CRA here and work with our city council here, who has already built up that database of our local general contractors so that they get the opportunity and the head start. Yes, keep the Black Chamber of Commerce, but make them secondary, make them in even third position. Riviera Beach takes preference.
I just saw an affirmative nod from my client that we will make that the priority for this, to work with your CRA, your council members, and your staff. And I think I made that commitment earlier, that we know that we need to work with your staff on getting a job fair done here, make every effort to hire. The only thing that we can't do is we can't guarantee that 100% of the employees here will be coming from Riviera Beach, because there may be positions that are not available.
And we understand,
but I think that with an office component to this, that's a much more substantial office component than just the distribution portion of it, you have much more opportunity to have all levels of jobs, from office personnel, secretaries, receptionists, and higher management, and potential for moving up to those positions by individuals who work here, as well as those that would work in the warehouse area.
Yes, no, we understand and we appreciate it. I just want.
But we will make that commitment that we will work with your CRA and your city council and your staff to make every effort to have everybody have an opportunity to come and apply for work here from Riviera Beach. It would be prudent for them to have people that are in the general area to be working at this facility. I will tell you that. I mean, it just cuts trips off the road. It makes people more have the ability to get to work on time. Because if they're living in the general area, they can get there quicker. They don't have to go through 95, or they have to go through other areas of the county to get here. So.
Yeah, and no, I understand. Riviera Beach first, even with the general contractors in our municipality.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that, yes.
The hours of operation, are they 24/7?
This would be up to the tenant, but yes, we would like that ability, because there are some vendors that will have a few vehicles that will do that will leave in the evening hours or in the morning hours early. Yes.
Okay. And my next question is, it was talked about the future of right-of-way. So the future of a right-of-way.
Yes.
Okay, so that is somewhere on this plat. I don't know if you would point it out or if Mr. Sermons would point it out. My question is,
I don't have a
who
quick-
owns that right-of-way right now?
Okay. Maybe somebody can. Is there a pointer? Oh, yeah. All right. It's across the front. Go ahead. Yeah. And tell them who you are.
Good evening. Dan Seamson with 2GHO. I'm a landscape architect for the project. Currently, the right-of-way is that's being dedicated to FDOT is owned by this group, this part of their property. But as they went through the process of garnering preliminary permits from DOT, they asked for additional right-of-way for a turn lane to facilitate better entrance into the property. So they own the property right now. They're actually dedicating that land to FDOT to allow for that right turn lane.
Okay, could you repeat that? You're saying that the applicant owns the right-of-way now?
Yes.
And they're getting ready to donate it?
Yeah, there's a portion, they own the property, and a portion of that property, which will be the right turn lane, they're going to carve that out so that DOT owns that turn lane.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if the
DOT
applicant owns it already, then we don't need to talk about approving a right-of-way because you already own it and you've already worked out the logistics of that quadrant to FDOT, I guess it is.
It's a part of the plat you're approving, so we have to disclose it to you that we are providing that property. FDOT felt it was safer to provide a turn lane for the vehicles coming eastbound that come in to this facility so that they are not blocking Martin Luther King Boulevard, so that they can go into a turn lane, get out of the throughway, and come into the facility. And our client agreed to dedicate that property and do the turn lane.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's just transparency. Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just one last question. Drainage area. I'm not sure what a drainage area, what's being drained. What's a drainage area and what's being drained?
Every project here in Florida, because we are a state that has quite a bit of rainfall, and we are required to provide both water quantity and quality of the stormwater that comes into this site. So any water that comes on the roof of the building, in the paved areas, on the site has to be dealt with, and we have to store so much on the property so that it doesn't hurt anybody else's property. And we have to also have it meet water quality standards that's set up by the South Florida Water Management District in the state of Florida. So that water has to go through a somewhat of a cleansing process. So we have a stormwater system that's in this project that will be part of the paved surface. But this area here is a retention area where that water will go and sit and be able to filter out any of the anything that is not good for the environment as much as possible. And then it's discharged into the outside system. I do have our engineer here if you'd like me to have him explain it, but every project has to have a stormwater management system. And I guess I should have referred to it as that, but the drainage area in the back is a retention area.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
I'm okay with that. If you
Yeah,
had said
okay.
drainage area for that, I would have been okay. So
The engineer is saying the landscape architect knew what he was talking about.
Thanks for the clarification. I just wanted to be sure it
Okay.
wasn't something other than what you were describing.
Yes.
Okay, those are all the questions that I have.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Mr. Gentile, before we move on to Board Member William Wiley, you were getting affirmative actions from your clients. Can you please identify your clients for the record and what their part is with this entity, please?
I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And
Thank you.
I should have done that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you, sir.
Hey, how are you? My name is David Wolf, and I appreciate you all for coming here today. This is one of my partners, CJ Easton.
Nice to meet everyone.
And so we're both part of the development and ownership group, and we're representing on behalf of ownership and development.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Wiley?
Yes, I got a couple of questions and some comments. First of all, I would like to see the process where we reached out to the locals. I live in that area also, not as probably close in that circumference to be able to receive a letter, but I would like to see a letter or flyer or any kind of correspondence just to see. I know no one showed up, but I would like to see what efforts you made for that, because we've had situations to where we've had people come in and stated that a group of people said one thing, and then later on when it was done, it was the total opposite.
I understand.
I definitely would love to be able to see some information with that. But I would also like to thank you for making the accommodation for Azure Estates, formerly Stony Brook, for the landscaping to be able to provide coverage, noise blockage, and plus it has to be a pretty good site to be able to see, of course, with the building being next door. So thank you for that. I think that's a great idea to be able to do that. The hiring aspect of it also, if possible, I have a friend over in the VA with advocacy, a friend of mine named Chip, who can possibly be able to help out with some of the veterans to be able to, if possible, to be able to look for employment there also, because he contacted me about any information about what we can do as far as getting people from the VA more involved in employment within the city of Riviera Beach. So that's something to where if I get in contact with one of your guys, I can get you guys contacted with that. also.
Absolutely. We would love to get that information, and we will put that into our efforts that we've committed to you all today.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. And I think I have a couple more questions. Again, thank you for the idea also about, because I was thinking about the turning lane also, because usually I travel that area a lot, and usually the trucks, of course, have to slow down before they make these turns and everything. So I understand that part of it. So the turning lane would be a very good idea. So you've already implemented that inside of it also. Now, during the hours that she spoke of, that you'll be working, so more likely it'll be 24 hours. Now, would you have a security gate there? In that
Yes.
district, or a security guard there also to man that gate?
Yeah, you'll have security there, security people. Yeah, the security gates, and also they will have security personnel there as well. Yes.
All right, good. And I think I have one more question. Now, given that your location of the railroad that you have there, you didn't have any future aspirations of the railroad use also, or would this strictly be trucks coming from the port coming into your facility for storage, for temporary storage and distribution somewhere else, or will you have future aspirations of utilizing our railroad likely for transportation also, or that's something that the company?
Right now, the company did not have they did not feel that the railroad was the benefit for this project. This is more of a that's why it's called an LTL. It's a less than truckload. It's a truck distribution center. That's the biggest problem we're having in the country right now is the distribution of those goods back and forth all over. And so this will be, and that's why I'm not, as I said, we don't anticipate goods staying in here as a warehouse. They will be brought in and then in a very short period of time transported out to their destination. So we anticipate the port will be sending vehicles here to drop stuff off, and then they'll go to other areas that they need to.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay. The reason why I stated that because I managed FedEx in Orlando for numerous years, and when we got to the point to where we expanded, and there was a railroad next to it in that area, that was something that they were talking about that actually made the distribution a lot easier with having something come into that location. So I didn't know whether, and for future reference,
if a tenant that comes into this facility wants to use that, then we're going to come back to you all to change the site plan. So that's what that, right now you're getting green landscape, but if we have to change it, we got to come back here. It'll be a modification, so got to come back to the city to have it changed.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russell Barnes?
Yeah, couple items. One is, thank you. I sent several questions to staff and to the applicant via email and got answers from staff as well as the applicant when they did the presentation. I've seen you guys, at least in the conversation, really go above and beyond in trying to coordinate with the residents there. I'd like to figure out if there are things as a staff we can do better to get feedback from the residents, because this is going to impact the next door neighbors there, and it would be really nice if we could figure out a way that we could give them or get more feedback. You can't force someone to come to a meeting that you're having, and I appreciate the efforts that you all put. I understand there were flyers you put out. You used the barcodes that we put out. You went and met with the owners of, you did about as much as you could do for that one neighborhood there. I guess the last thing is it seems like you all are putting an industrial use on a piece of property that's zoned industrial and has a future land use of industrial. So it seems like as we're going to get an industrial building, and thank you for being good neighbors.
Correct.
Real quick, Mr. Sermons, if Mary Savage Dunham, back when I first came on, we had requested that after an applicant is approved by City Council and they go forward with their project, that once they get their CO, 6 months after the fact, that your staff will report back to us on employment statuses as far as how many employees from Riviera Beach. Can we also make sure we don't forget that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am familiar with that situation, and that was actually a condition that we added to a couple previous projects that came through that made mention of the possibility in their promised efforts to recruit city residents to take up jobs and employment opportunities in the development once it's constructed. I do have that language from a previous project, and if it does please the board and the applicants, I can read what we have and see if they are agreeable to it.
Would you please do so?
Yes. In this case, the development shall actively advertise employment opportunities for temporary and permanent positions within the city of Riviera Beach, including participation at community job fairs or hosting specialized recruitment events. The developer shall provide a report to the Development Services Department at 6 months post-certificate of occupancy, documenting the outreach efforts to acquire local employees, the number of local employees hired, the number of local businesses contracted with, subject to employment and privacy laws, and the percentage of construction costs expended with local vendors.
We have no problem for that being a condition of approval, and I also want to put on the record we had no issue with the conditions as Mr. Sturman and the planning staff have put on. I did not say that, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry.
No worries, and I believe your clients who previously identified themselves at the podium nodded in the affirmative as well.
Yes, I would not have been able to say that if they didn't nod to me properly. Okay.
I appreciate it. Now, to address a couple of issues brought up by some of our board members regarding bringing in either supermarkets or fresh produce or other restaurants or anything into our area. Mr. Sermons, these developers, when they come into our city, you are the first point of contact for them. Maybe you could see and reach out and provide ideas that maybe we can get those type of projects in our community.
Absolutely, and you are correct. We are often the first line of contact for developers in certain projects when they come in, and we do partner with the CRA and other arms of the city to target the types of businesses that we want to see here. This particular property is zoned industrial, so some of those supermarket type uses may not be appropriate for this site, but where they are appropriate, there are efforts to get those types of uses needed, and we are protective of lands that are zoned as commercial that would be ideal for some of those uses that the city is currently lacking, but there are current efforts related to those. And Board Member Barn also made a comment related to outreach, and I can provide some response on the staff efforts related to that too, if appropriate at this time. So based on feedback from this board, even including former board member Newby, there was interest in developing standard outreach materials for applicants, and staff has taken those recommendations and in my opinion, taken them to the next level. There was a survey documented, submitted to staff as a potential template that could be used by developers such as those before you when they go out into the community. So what staff did was take that survey and put it in an online format. We also we developed and provided a one-pager on instructions on what developers should do for public outreach. So it lists what should be included in their materials, and it includes the QR code that we developed that takes a person to the web page. So any interested party can immediately go to the city website or be directed to the city website and see the application materials for a project, the renderings, the layouts, all the materials you have before you. And then the second QR code takes them to a survey with similar questions to what was developed by this board, so that that applicant can fill out those responses. Once they hit submit, it immediately goes to staff's computer and we get a notification saying you have feedback from the community. So we have gone far beyond what the standards were of previous staff at the city to ensure that the community members have every opportunity to weigh in when something is being proposed near them.
And then you in turn will report back to the Planning and Zoning Board, correct, with that contact?
Absolutely, and in this particular case, we did not receive any email responses from the survey link, but it is alive and well, as well as the information available on the city website for anyone who would navigate there on their own. But the QR code was attached to the materials that they distributed, and of course, as staff almost always does with these types of projects, we send out courtesy notices to all of the addresses within 300 feet. And on those courtesy notices, it's a postcard, but it has those same QR codes that allows the person receiving it to see the materials online and provide immediate feedback through the website if they can't make it to a public hearing such as this one. So staff does continue to take those steps of the courtesy notices, but we've improved it with those QR codes and direct access to the information, and we also give step-by-step instructions to the applicants on how to do the same with their outreach.
Thank you. Outstanding job. Without further ado, do I have a...
Excuse me, Chair.
Well, yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I just have one more question for the applicant or even the city. But there is an elementary school in that immediate vicinity. Was the school contacted or informed about the upcoming project? Because I know, I drive through that area in the mornings going to work, and there are school children in that area, so I would like to know if that school, there's an elementary, a middle, and a high school, but the elementary school is the closest to your proposed project.
We did not contact the school. There's a requirement in the county with the school board that if we're doing a residential project, we have to contact them for bus stops or those other types of things. We did not. I will tell you that we did do, though. We went above and beyond by everybody within 300 feet was notified. I have to tell you, I work in the 37 municipalities in this county and the county itself. This is the most aggressive public outreach I've seen to date. I commend your staff for doing such a great job. This provides not only information in their hands, but it also provides a location to go find any additional information that they put on there. So they did a great job on that.
I agree with the city's effort.
Yes.
I also believe that schools are a part of our community, and you may do well to contact the principal so that principal could put information towards the parents and also the teachers that work there. So I do not think that that is a bad idea. I will be suggesting that going forward when projects come to our city and they are located within school districts, close to school locations. So I would like to also propose that as a condition of approval that that you get with that elementary school and let them know so they can further inform the residents as well, because their children will be impacted when this project begins, and also their safety.
Okay, we definitely agree with that as a condition, and we will contact the elementary school, ma'am, and I'll report back to Mr. Sermons in writing.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, your clients, they also nodded in the affirmative.
Yes, sir. I'm their agent, so I'm talking for them. But yes, they did firmly tell me to say that to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Did they identify the school, just so they don't understand it's Lincoln?
Mr. Sermons, can you let them know what you know what that school is? Lincoln Elementary.
Lincoln Elementary School, and I'll contact the principal.
Lincoln Elementary and West Riviera.
And West Riviera. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Sermon, for future...
When I was here, I went to Riviera Beach Elementary School. So, okay. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, sir. Mr. Sermons, for future approvals, if there's any schools within the proximity of a development, can you please make sure that they are notified, the school principal, staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will add that to our considerations for outreach in the future.
Thank you.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to share with the applicant, I just have a very strong concern that whether it's single tenant or multiple tenants, primarily multiple tenants, that once you go through this process and multiple tenants come in, that they don't have a tendency to look out for the residents of Riviera Beach, any aspect of employment. It's not a matter that we have the power to force. We don't have the power to force. we're hoping that with the applicants that come in front of us, and generally they're single companies, and they have a lot more influence to work with our municipal elected officials and CRA to give us the stats that we're looking for in terms of who was hired by Riviera Beach. When you have a multiple scenario, and I'm very familiar with that because I'm in the logistics business, and you have those tenants that rent, they do whatever they want to do, and they're just simply not beholden to the residents of the city in which they're doing business here. They can kind of care less, and they're going to do their own thing. I know you cannot guarantee that, and I'm not asking you to. I'm just hoping that you can think through when you are bringing the tenants on board, that the caveat that we're giving you about employment, that's impressed upon those tenants as well.
Yes, ma'am. Will do.
I didn't get okay, now I'm getting a nod of heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will make every effort to ensure that they follow what we said. They will work with the CRA. They will work with your city staff and your commissioners, council members, to get individuals out of Veterans Administration here in Riviera Beach, and try to provide opportunities for them to be employed at this facility.
Okay, terrific. And as any construction that's going on.
And the contractors,
local
yes, and the subcontractors as well. Okay.
Okay, can we now proceed with somebody motioning for the plat application PA 22-0003? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Clark?
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
James Gallen,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you so much, and council and commissioners, I appreciate it, and we will make sure that we make this a good project here in Riviera Beach. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Chair?
Yes, we still need to go to the site plan, Mr. Sermon?
Correct. The site plan and the special exception would be a combined application, so they could be handled in one vote.
Mr. Gentile, nice try trying to get out here early.
My senior planner back there, Alec, raise your hand. He made sure we're doing it right. So, okay.
So now C is going to be a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application SP 2118 and special exception application SE 21-02 from Easton Group Companies Incorporated to develop a 34,500 square foot office/warehouse facility with associated parking and landscaping and dedicated land for future expansion of the right-of-way on a vacant 8.97 acre parcel located on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, immediately west of the railroad tracks, formerly identified by parcel control numbers 564342, 3243001000 and 5643423243003000 and 5643423243004000, having a future land use designation of industrial and zoning designation of IG, general industrial, providing for conditions of approval and providing for an effective date. Mr. Sermons, are we doing D as well?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Item C will cover both of the resolutions.
Perfect. Thank you.
I second that motion.
Do I have a motion?
Was there a motion made?
You made a motion, did we get a second?
Second. I didn't hear nobody make a motion.
I think we got a motion
We
for
do, hold on.
second for the motion.
Madam Clerk, do we get a roll call?
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
James Gallen,
No.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez.
Yes.
This vote passed with James Gallen dissenting.
Mr. Chair, thank you. And commissioners, commissioners, thank you very much.
Mr. Sermons, we now have item D.
Yes. Mr. Chair, the next item for the agenda is related to the workshop item that was presented to you at the last meeting regarding the city's comprehensive plan and the addition of a property rights element for it. Tonight, we bring it before you for actual consideration and a vote, so it can move forward to City Council. It is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the city's adopted comprehensive plan to establish the property rights element, to adopt a new property rights element, and amending all elements as necessary in order to provide consistency with the current statutory requirements per section 163.3177 Florida statutes, providing for conflicts and severability, and providing for an effective date. For the staff presentation on this item, I would like to call Mr. Josu Leger for the information.
Thank you, Mr. Sermon. For the record, Josu Ledger, Development Services. As mentioned before, I'll just give the board a brief background. State Statute 163.3177, in accordance with the legislative intent expressed, and the State Statute 163.316, parenthesis 10, and 187.101, parenthesis 3, that governmental entities respect judicially acknowledged and constitutionally protected private property rights. Each local government shall include in its comprehensive plan a property rights element to ensure that private property rights are considered in local decision-making. A local government may adopt its own property rights element or use the following statements of rights. The following statements of rights are provided through the state statutes. I'll just read them for the record. The right of a property owner to physically possess and control his or her interests in the property, including easements, leases, or mineral rights. The right of a property owner to use, maintain, develop, and improve his or her property for personal use or for the use of any other person, subject to state law and local ordinances. The right of the property owner to privacy and to exclude others from the property to protect the owner's possessions and property. The right of a property owner to dispose of his or her property through sales or gift. Just to give the board a quick summary, this element must be adopted by every local municipalities in order to be in compliance with state's statutory requirements. Staff looked into the adopted comp plan to make sure that there is no inconsistencies within the proposed statements of rights, and we have not found any. And of course, as discussed at our last workshop, this may well impact development in the city. So we're proposing before you a comprehensive plan amendment. This is the actual underline that will be within our comprehensive plan. So obviously creating the property rights element and adopting it, provided goals, objectives, and policies for it. And staff took under consideration the discussion that we had last. So the state typically provide a minimum of the 4 statements of rights, which are here reflected as the proposed policies, objectives and policies for the city, which I read earlier in the record, to address the board's, the city itself, in terms of decision-making on properties. We've had additional languages to kind of address some of the concerns that we raised from our workshop. Those are, it will be referred to as Objective 1.2 in our proposed language, and Policy 1.2.1. I'll read it in the record. Objective 1.2, transparency, reliability, and predictability in decision-making. The city shall continue its effort in promoting public involvement and afford property owners the opportunity to participate in public meetings and hearings where it is making decisions involving a property owner's property. Policy 1.2.1, comprehensive plan amendments and development applications. All applications affecting the development or use of property in the city, including amendments to the city's comprehensive plan, shall be made at duly noticed public meetings, and the application shall be made available for public review at any time before or after the date of any hearing wherein the application is to be considered within the city's business hours. All residents and business of the city shall be entitled to inspect public records associated with an application and to participate in any hearings regarding the applications. Staff recommends approval of this amendment to establish the property rights element and to adopt a new property rights element and amending all elements as necessary. This concludes my presentation. Feel free to ask any questions, concerns you may have.
If you read the document you just stated, it just requires state and local under 1.1B. Would you need to also include federal?
Well, this
language?
This language is strictly from the state statutes, the new language that's proposed. So as a local government, we are required to adopt that within our comprehensive plan.
So we can't tweak it to include federal. The reason I'm asking is this also include mineral rights. We don't need oil pumping rigs popping up in folks' houses. So federal will also assist in that endeavor.
Correct. There are currently existing laws as it relates to private property rights. However, historically, local municipalities never adopted it as a required element. It was never a requirement for local municipalities to have language adopted within their comprehensive plan. So as of last year, summer last year, the state made it a requirement for us to have language within our comp plan.
Right, I understand that, but are our other rights protected as well from the federal side of the house as far as obtaining their approval as well before a homeowner proceeds or a property owner proceeds with any development?
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
There are.
Mr. Chair, I can add to that. I can attest to that situations have occurred in Riviera Beach where development was done and they did not properly secure necessary approvals from entities such as the Army Corps.
Correct.
And we have worked with those federal agencies as well to ensure compliance with local regulations as well as those required from the state and federal government also. So we haven't had issues with coordination with them in the past, and we don't see any reason why we would have any issues in the future. It is possible that we look into adding additional language in here for that, but as Mr. Leger was articulating, to ensure that we meet the requirements of the state and that this proposed amendment is not rejected by the associated departments in Tallahassee, whom we have to have approval of our comp plan by. We did not take too many liberties with this text since the last one, but it is certainly possible to add that. I will add that objective 1.2 was added to make sure we make it clear that transparency is a part of property rights, but also us wanting to make it clear that the property owner has a bulk of rights when it comes to developing their property, but so does their neighbor who has a strong interest in their quality of life as well and what happens next door, and to make sure that Objective 1.2 addresses everyone's right to transparency on what's happening and their right to participate in the process.
You're right. I agree 100% on the property right and the owners to do what they need to do with their property, but I also like to look at the whole picture. Is that what they're doing on the property, is that going to affect our city and our citizens as a whole? And what impact does it have, not only from the social side of the house, but also the economic impact of somebody wanting to put a waste facility in the middle of 4 houses. They buy 4 lots and they combine it in the middle of a residential area and they want to post it there because they have the right to do it, property rights. That's all I'm addressing. Now, do I have any other board members?
Could you go back to the property rights section again?
Yes.
When you talk about property rights, I think in my mind just land, dirt, if you will. And we have a unique scenario in our city where it's a combination of land and water. How does this right of a property owner to privacy and exclude others from the property to protect the owner's possession, and I guess the right of the owner to maintain, develop, and improve his or her property? We got a weird combination. How does this fit into that scenario? Because part of it's land and part of it's water.
So there are currently, our zoning ordinance addresses how an owner developed their property. The property rights element, or the statements of rights, does not exclude or no longer impede into the local processes. Our current zoning ordinance still stands, and as you can see, number 2 still subject development and improvements to state and local laws. So if you're developing a project and you do have some sort of submerged land or upper, so the current laws still applies, you know. So, and the property rights, the private property rights, there are existing laws, but the challenge for the state has been, it has never been part of a local government comprehensive plan as a required element. The comprehensive plan contains multiple elements. Some of them are required, some of them are optional. So the ones that are optional, if a city wants to incorporate it and provide languages, policies, objectives for it, we can. However, the ones that are required, we must have it as part of one of the elements within the comp plan. So as of last year, summer 2021, it was made a requirement for local municipalities to adopt a property rights element. And they understand that there may be further research that must be done in order for cities, local governments to actually dive in to adopt a full, a comprehensive approach to property rights that protects the rights of the local government as well as its owners. That's why they provided these 4 statements of rights as a minimum, where cities can adopt those 4 statements of rights for now in order to be in compliance with state statutes. So because of the workshop we had our last meeting, the board raised the concern, how does that impact our processes in terms of developing properties? And that's why staff decided to research a little further and make sure that we're not providing or proposing any languages that the state hasn't seen yet. That's where we have to kind of be a little bit careful. Because of time, we have to make sure that whatever we're proposing was submitted to Tallahassee is our languages they've seen already and they've okayed. So those two languages are not unique to the city of Riviera Beach. Other cities have adopted similar languages to just allow us, at least for now, the ability to make sure that development does have a transparency towards development, and anyone that get impacted for certain type of developments does have a say during the public hearing process.
Well, thanks. I didn't know you were going to give me that long of an explanation, but that's okay. I saw last city council meeting, and the team there was going to look at the comprehensive plan. So they've already had that meeting, and this is what we're talking about, and they've kind of seen this already, and it's going to go in the comprehensive plan, this language?
So there are two aspects. So the city is looking to take a bigger bite in terms of updating our comprehensive plan. However, in the meantime, this is a much longer process. In the meantime, we're being proactive to make sure that developments we don't alter development in the city by not comply to state statutes. And we are required to comply with state statutes. And some projects that we do in the city, we do have to submit them to states for approval. So if we do not have, if for some reason our comp plan does not comply with states' requirements, and we are requiring for them to provide us comments or review anything, they will in fact put a halt into that, which can impede and have a much bigger impact into our city.
Okay, thanks. That was it.
Thank you.
Any other board member have any questions?
None, but Mr. Sherman, if you all can, if you could put the chair and vice chair here, I don't hear very well. They sound like they're kind of in a bubble. So if you can put them the next time, put them where I just can't hear them. Whatever they're talking about, I really can't hear it. That's
Not a problem.
That's just my suggestion.
Not a problem.
Fine with me.
Mr. Ledger.
Mr. Sermons, one quick question. Is this going to affect our special preservation sites that we incorporated into our comprehensive plan 1987? Don't quote me on the year. I think it was. Remember those special preservation areas? Would this impact that?
The short answer I would say is no. The rights of a property owner are, for the most part, well established in federal and state law, and especially in case law. However, the change is that the state is now requiring that local governments make it explicit what those rights are in their comprehensive plan. So we're adding those there. There are some differences in property rights when it comes to submerged land, which we have significant amounts of in Riviera Beach. There's some differences, for example, in the area of trespassing when it comes to submerged lands, where it may differ a bit when you're talking about dry land. But generally, no, this would not make a significant change in what the regulations are for those properties. It doesn't confer any additional development rights on any properties in the city, including those submerged lands. This is what we believe the intent of the state legislature, to ensure that local governments have these rights explicit in their codes, to make sure that they're aware of them as they develop future land development regulations.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, would somebody propose?
I have a comment. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brown.
Mr.
I
Brown?
have a comment, yes.
Second?
No.
No,
Oh,
he's
it's a
making a
question. Okay,
comment.
go ahead, Mr. Brown. I didn't hear you.
I get it. Ms. Shepherd is right. You need to sit in the middle. Objective 1-1-2, the last line. Yeah. Could you add an S Okay. It's different in my yeah.
Okay, so staff, so
Hear-
there may have been
hearings and decisions.
hearings, and decisions. Okay.
Yes.
We'll make sure that
Yes,
gets
Mr. Chair, there is a difference between the printed copy and
Yes.
what's up there.
Yes, it
so
is.
That is noted.
I noticed that.
And based on the conversation here, staff would likely add a clarification on the effects of neighboring properties on these decisions as well, as we review this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other board member have any input? Any other questions? Then can we proceed with somebody motioning to accept the proposed language for the property rights?
So move.
Second. Second.
Ms. Clerk?
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
James Gallen,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Mr. Sermons, any workshop items?
No, Mr. Chair.
Public comments? For the record, there's no one here. Anything else, Mr. Sermons? We have the upcoming meetings, May 12 and May 26.
Nothing additional from staff. We will, currently, we do expect to have upcoming meetings on May 12th and 26th, and we will advise the board as items and agendas are ready.
Perfect, thank you. Board member, thank you for my selection, and Mr. Wiley's. I appreciate the trust and the responsibilities you have placed on us. Okay, it is now 8:26. Do I have 8:33? 8:33. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? Do we have to do a roll call on the closing?
No?
We didn't do comments.
No, well, next.
Guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
That or what? Because it's running. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she needs it.